Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Shikhman, and I'm the managing partner here at Lengea Law. We work with lots of healthcare startups, a lot in the med spa, IV hydration, mental health space. And a lot of our clients always ask us about business funding and small business loans and SBA loans. So I wanted to bring somebody on our YouTube channel who's an expert in this area, who's going to explain how loans work, what kind of loans small businesses can qualify for, and all that good stuff. And he'll introduce himself, and he's a very knowledgeable guy. His name is Ami Kassar. He's been doing this for a long time. And Ami, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sarah, thank you so much. I'm happy to be on with you to talk to your community. I'm Ami Kassar. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Multifunding. And it's hard to believe it, but for almost 15 years now, we've been working with business owners and entrepreneurs around the country to help them get the best loans for their situation, which is often an SBA loan, to help them grow, scale, and stay in control of their businesses.
Awesome. So, what is an SBA loan?
Well, first of all, people get messed up, so it's a super good question. So first, people think is the SBA loan a government loan, a loan made by the government? And the answer is that unless it's an economic injury disaster loan program that required to a crisis, in the ordinary course of business, the SBA provides a guarantee to allow banks and some non-bank loans to make riskier loans than they otherwise would. And why that's important to know is that if you walk into your local bank and they tell you no for an SBA loan, that doesn't mean that the bank down the street or 3 states over is going to tell you no. Sometimes you have to kiss a couple of frogs to meet your prince and get the best SBA loan for you.
So that's great advice. So it's not like the same loan that comes from the government would come from, every single bank. Every single bank may be totally different. So
Correct. They have certain guidelines that they need to follow, but every bank makes their own credit decisions. And different
got it.
banks might interpret the guidelines differently. And some banks might have an appetite for one type of loan and not another type of loan. Some banks might use parts of the program that others don't. And so you need to just realize that that if one bank says no, that doesn't mean you're out. Or one bank might tell you a rule that their interpretation of that rule, but that might be their rule, not an SBA rule.
Got it. And like, how big does a business have to be? Or is there some minimum criteria to get an SBA loan? If a business is, let's say, has been in business for 6 months or a year.
So first of all, that's another tricky thing. SBA thing is people think SBA, so that stands for small, right? Okay, but I have seen SBA loans as small as $1,000.
Oh, wow.
Okay, but they also go as high as for the 7A program, 5 million, and for the 504 program, $12.8 million. Okay, so you can get them in different shapes and sizes, and they are for startups. They are for existing companies. You can use them to buy a business, buy out a partner, working capital, growth capital, buy own occupied real estate, expansion capital. There are a wide variety of uses that you can use them for.
Can you use them to buy equipment?
Absolutely.
Can you
And
use them?
the benefit of that, let's just say you are going to buy equipment for your med spa and you want to, the equipment leasing company might say you have 5 years to pay it back. The SBA will give you 10 years. And so your monthly payment will be lower.
Right. And sometimes with the equipment financing companies, their interest rate may be much, much higher actually than the SBA.
Correct. But we always encourage people when you're looking at financing options for your business you want to try create as much flexibility as you can. Okay. So you want to make sure that your monthly payment is as low as possible.
And is there a down payment with SBA loans? Like, do you need 10, 20% down or something like that?
But most often not. Sometimes for an acquisition, it could be like 5%, but for growth capital, working capital, expansion capital, there's no down payment requirement.
Wow. So a lot of our clients, they're trying to move quickly. So for example, they're buying equipment or they're doing an office build out and they need the money like in 60 days or 90 days or maybe sooner. What's the typical timeline for somebody with this type of loan?
So again, typical can be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
If the loan request is $500,000 or less, there should be no reason that that can't be done in under 45 days, preferably faster. If the loan request is bigger than that, say you're buying a business, well, then it gets a bit more complicated because there's two sets of lawyers involved and different rules and regs. Or if you're buying a business and an appraisal of the business, if you're buying a piece of real estate, there could be an appraisal of the real estate and environmental in the real estate. So sometimes those things can get trickier, but an SBA loan should not take longer than 60 to 90 days. Every once in a while, there's an exception and things go crazy, but we try to avoid those scenarios if we can.
And let's say a business has two partners. Will both partners have to apply for the loan or sign for the loan, or can one partner take the loan?
Any partner who owns 20% or more of the business has to sign for the loan and be willing to personally guarantee it.
Got it. So let's say a business is owned by like two people, both of them would have to sign for the loan.
Yeah, and yes, one of them was 19% and one of them was 81%, then that's not the case.
Right, right. And does the SBA look at people's, like, what's the criteria? And is the criteria set by the SBA or the different banks? So like, if someone doesn't have the most amazing credit, or they may not have collateral, does that mean they can't get a loan, or they still have a chance?
Well, collateral is not a requirement. I mean, some banks will have different collateral requirements than other banks, but SBA lenders in general are supposed to be cash flow lenders. Okay, so they're not supposed to, they need to take all available collateral, but they should not be making their decisions on collateral. Really, the government guarantee is designed to be their collateral in case of default. Okay, so that's, you shouldn't make your calculation as you think about the SBA as a collateral calculation. Okay, cash flow is important, and if it's a projection-based loan, it's really well thought out projections that aren't too crazy, that show a cautious path to growth. Those are all important.
So let's say a business is brand new and doesn't have any history, but has good projections that are detailed and conservative, and has, founders that have good credit, or a founder who has good credit. Can they still possibly get an SBA loan?
Correct, but keep in mind that in the case like that, they're going to absolutely look at the personal financial strength of the borrower and their confidence in their ability to pay the loan back.
So what type of documents would people need to get ready? Like things like tax returns?
You're going to need a personal financial statement. You're going to need 3 years of personal tax returns. If the business has been there for 3 years, you're going to need 3 years of business tax returns. You're going to need current year-to-date financials. If it's a projection-based loan, you're definitely going to need some kind of a business plan. It doesn't have to be 500 pages, but just a business plan that shows, what's the projections and the plans and all that. So, and some different banks might have slightly different requirements, but in general, those will be what you need.
And how does your company help? Like, I know you guys work with a lot of small businesses, helping them get SBA loans. So where do you come in?
Yeah, so yeah, you could go directly to a bank and try to do this on your own, or we provide a service where we will advocate for you through the process and hold your hands and get you to the finish line. And we will get paid a commission by the bank, so it won't cost you anything more. The other thing that we do is, because we have so much expertise in this and we do it nationwide, is it's very likely that you may or may not have ever heard of the bank that we introduce you to. And that doesn't really matter. The best bank for you may or may no longer be in your backyard.
Right. And that's very valuable because, like, I think small business owners are very busy and are doing a lot of different things, and having someone to hold your hand to be able to possibly put your application in front of 50 different banks and find the right bank that's going to lend you money be really important.
I want to be clear, we're not going to put it in front of 50 banks. In most cases, we won't put it in front of maybe more than 3 banks. Okay.
So I guess you guys have a matching process or something.
Yeah, we know what's going on in the market, what's up and down, what banks are doing what banks are most likely to do a type of transaction, and we follow that.
And do you guys do SBA and non-SBA lending?
We do all kinds of lending. So certainly have many equipment lenders or conventional lenders or alternative lenders. But at least for the last few years, the vast majority of our volume has been SBA because that's what made the most sense for the client at the time.
Got it. Do you have any advice for small business owners who are preparing to apply for SBA loans besides contacting you? Like, is there something on their end that they should do to like put themselves in the best position possible to be able to get approved?
Yeah, if you have a good plan and a good strategy, the money's usually the easiest part. It's just a pain. It's just a technical pain to get it. But we're happy to talk to anyone at any time about. We're going to ask you some challenging questions about what you're trying to borrow the money for and why. Okay, and what you're going to accomplish with it and what are you trying to do. And sometimes one preconceived notion of what you're trying to do might be different than what you're actually trying to do. And so we will be happy to help anybody, but first question is, money doesn't solve everything. So what are you trying to accomplish and why? And then once we understand that, what the need is, we can then recommend the best loan programs or options for that scenario.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Same thing with legal, lawyers don't solve all problems sometimes, no matter how good the contracts are.
Right.
It's a different kind of problem. It's hard to solve it through the legal route. What do you see as, I guess, the most typical terms that people can expect these days, or maybe in the near future with these loans? Like, what types of rates or what types of terms, or like what should people be?
Most SBA loans are 10-year term. Okay, and that's his real estate involved. But if it's for acquiring a business, growth capital, work capital, most of it amortize over 10 years. And unless there's a lot of collateral and it's really strong, in most cases, the current rate will be 11.25%.
And do SBA loans have prepayment penalties?
There are no prepayment penalties, and they adjust with prime. So everyone's cautiously optimistic interest rates will start to go down soon. And then the rate on the SBA loans will go down as well. But you can expect likely a 10-year note at 11.25%.
Got it. And you mentioned it would be personally guaranteed by every founder who has 20% or more.
Correct.
But let's say if the founder has a house or things like that, typically that kind of stuff would not fall into this loan.
No. If you have a house and there's equity in your house, and the loan's in excess of $500,000, by law, the SBA has to take a lien on your house. If the loan is under $500,000, they don't have to.
Got it. Okay. Any other words of advice for healthcare entrepreneurs starting their businesses and applying for loans?
God bless. Happy to talk to you at any time. Happy to support you, hear what you're up to, and you're doing important work, and we'd love to be your financing partner and help you through the different stages of your venture.
Awesome. And how can people reach you?
Sure. Multifunding.com is our website, or you can certainly reach me if you want to reach me directly at ami@multifunding.com.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ami. This is really helpful. And I think a lot of our clients and people who follow our YouTube channel will find this very helpful. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.